Thank you very much. My name is Albert Busek. I'm a bloody foreigner from Germany, and I can hardly believe that I'm standing here in front of all of you on that very, very special occasion to celebrate the birthday of my mentor, my friend, and the genius and the creator of an empire, Joe Weider. It's very difficult for me to talk at all. And if something goes wrong during anything I'm saying tonight, you can blame it to Andy Olson, because he was the one who said, I have to do that. And I'm honored, deeply touched to speak to you, because I feel the greatest power we have in life on this planet, in this room, so strong that I get goozy. It is the power which is stronger than the world we know. It is love. Love for one man who is here with us and who is such an inspiration for all of us and who has touched so many lives all over this planet. It's just not to describe in words what this man has done in his life and what an impact he has had during his lifetime. So the love I feel here makes me almost stop, but there's a reason. Because love goes beyond the life we see to another world. And I know for sure that from this other world, one man is looking down now and is happy that we are gathering here for Brother Joe. And I would like to call you for a moment of silence for Ben. Eric, I'm really happy that you are here. I feel with you and the whole family. We just have to take it like it is. And he will live on in our hearts and in all the hearts he has touched over his long life. Thank you very much. To talk about Joe is almost impossible, really. When I start with my beginning with Joe, it goes back to 1958. And it is hard to say because here's another legend of bodybuilding and fitness, Jack LaLanne. And it may sound unbelievable, but I came to bodybuilding because of Joe Weider and Jack LaLanne. It was a very tiny ad in Stern magazine in 1958. And there was an ad of the company called Erba Weider. Erba stood for Erich Bartel. He was the manager in Germany. And my friend Eric Janner, who still is with me, he's almost my brother, similar situation. We both wanted these dumbbells and the abdominal course of Jack LaLanne. But we couldn't afford it because we got only 5 marks per month, and it was 70 marks. So we had to wait for half a year to get it finally, and we started 15th of October in '59, first time, to grab a dumbbell and to work out. So I owe everything because it took a complete different lead in my life. My life probably would have turned out in a complete different way, and so many other things would have turned out in a complete different way. So, Joe, thank you that you already then were a global fighter and a real global player, and I owe you everything I have done in my life within bodybuilding and for bodybuilding. So I owe you everything. Thank you, Joe. We will have a chance to go in more detail afterwards, but now I think it's the best to wish you for the first course a good appetite. Thank you. I'm coming from Germany. He has been in the Olympia final several times. He's a world champ, overall winner. And I'm happy that he is now speaking to you for Joe. Günther Schlierkamp.
Yeah, Joe, happy birthday. My first things what came to mind to talk about Joe was when I was 16 years old. I see this little boy who goes into the gym and, you know, is all inspired and motivated to get big, athletic, and like he saw before in some of the magazines on the newsstands. And I walked in the gym, started working out. After 3 months, people said, man, you should do competitions. And I heard always the name Joe Weider, the master blaster, trainer of the champions. And I said, who is this? And said, are you crazy? You don't know who that is? Look in the magazine. So I was reading through the magazines. Finally, Joe, your name came up more than you know, I could probably count, but you know, you created these magazines and people say, yeah, if you want to become somebody, you want to, you know, be a champion, you need to meet Joe Weider. So I start training hard and give everything I had, and with 23 finally it happened. I won the world champion Mr. Universe. And Joe, I met actually your brother first. It was Ben who held my hands up and congratulated me to the world champion title and told me on stage in Seoul, South Korea, you need to go to America and meet my brother Joe. And I said, I will. It took me 5 years until I finally could get a ticket and go over to America. Joe, I ended up in your office, and I was warned before, carefully, might have you taking off your shirt. I say, no. I say, yes, he does that to people. It happens occasionally. I say, no, he would not do that. I said, I mean, you know. So anyway, Joe, I walked in your office, and the first thing you really said was, how do you look? And I say, pretty good. Go over there, take your shirt off, and hit some poses. Joe, the first thing you said, I have to work on you. You need to learn to pose, and you need to work on your back. I took that with me. In that year, actually, we didn't quite get together then, but I came back a year later, and you looked at me again, and I was glad and happy to actually, you know, got a contract with you, with Weider Company, what I dreamed since I was a 16 years old, you know, kid. So, and a dream for me came true. I'm now 11 years with Weider, and I'm proud to be a Weider athlete. And I have to say, Joe, you changed my life. And I know how many millions of people you changed the lives of. And, you know, everybody will remember you not for the car you drive, not for the house you live in, and not how much money you have, but everybody will remember you how many people's life you changed. And I'm one of them. And because of you, and you made it my dream come true and made everything possible, occasionally I like to call you actually my dad because you're the father of bodybuilding, so and I love bodybuilding. I actually just got accepted to become American citizen. So I will be sworn in pretty soon. And Joe, this is all happening thanks to you. And I love you with all my heart. And, you know, it comes from my heart. And I hope, you know, we have many times together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Günther. Behind every great man, there is a strong and also great woman, they say. It's Joe's birthday, but it's a little bit also Betty's birthday. And when Joe was young, he definitely was, I don't know if it was a womanizer, but he was looking after the woman, I'm pretty sure, every second of his life. So finally, when he was a yingling, he couldn't, but later on, he found the wife of his life, the love of his life, and I'm sure without her, everything what happened and what you achieved and what you made finally a reality would not have happened without the wife on your side now for 47 years. So I think the biggest applause in this room should go to the one and only, the wonderful, the beauty, Betty. Joe as a visionary, Joe as a connoisseur of art, Joe as a shrewd businessman, we know that all. What he has built, the world knows, we know it, but what the world might not know, we know it better probably, is his human side. And I've witnessed so many times this wonderful side of this great man that I'm always in awe when I think about it, and it's always the biggest inspiration for me. If I have a tendency to go crazy or impatient or whatever could happen in a special situation, I think of Joe and it gives me all the strength I need to calm down. There are many anecdotes. I just would like to share with you some. I had the privilege to drive with him about 25 years ago in his Jaguar around Woodland Hills. And there was a red light, and despite the red light, there was a woman crossing the street, and another driver came, crossed us, and he almost drove into that older woman. And then he tried to go around, but he had to stop because the woman fell. And so we stopped. Joe went out of the car, went to the other driver. I thought he's going to kill the guy. So when he came back, I didn't move at all. When he came back, we tried to move on. He helped, of course, the lady up and over the street. And then we wanted to go on, but this car still was standing there. And so we waited for about 30 seconds, but didn't move. So we drove around the car, and I was sitting on the right side, so I looked at the guy. It was a man about middle age, and he was still under shock. So the lesson or the message he got from Joe probably was the right one. But it shows how much Joe cares for anybody. I mean, for people he doesn't know, if a situation occurs like that. And it happens so many times, it just shows what a great human being Joe is, that he really cares for anybody, no matter who it is. What he has done in the sport of bodybuilding, for the people, not only the business, for the people. If it's Günther who came to his office, or hundreds or thousands of other athletes, it would be always the same procedure: show me how you look. And then he helped in one way or another this athlete out, to help him to get a job, to help him to get through all the bureaucracy if the athletes came from other countries. If the athlete was good enough, he was ready to give him, or maybe in some time, to offer him a contract. So he was always there to help the athletes. And I'm sure around the world, there are thousands of athletes who owe you at least part of their career or their whole career. So of course there are highlights. And for sure here is one athlete present who owes Joe that he is living in America, that he finally was able to become doctor of chiropractic. His whole life he owes to Joe, more or less. He brought him over to America, and you must imagine, he comes from Sardinia. When he came to Germany from Sardinia as a shepherd, he didn't speak German. He had to learn German. He couldn't go to school. He couldn't afford it, so he learned it on the street. So it was a broken German. With this broken German, he came to US, and he had to learn proper English. And he did. Some say his English is still not the best one, but everybody understands him. And he made his doctor of chiropractic. This is an unbelievable story itself. And it was possible through the immediate help of Joe. Because Arnold introduced Franco to Joe, and he said, he is a great athlete, he could become Mr. Olympia, and you should bring him over to the United States. And Joe followed, and he did, and so Franco is here now since '69, living a great life. Debbie, his wife, on his side, and with a wonderful daughter, Maria. Ode to Joe Weider. And the one who introduced Franco to Joe was Arnold. And of course, Arnold is a story I don't have to go into detail. I just want to tell you and to share with you how it happened that Arnold came to USA, what you don't know. Arnold was a trainer in Munich. I brought him from Graz to Munich in '66. 1st of August in '66, he started as a trainer in Munich in a regular bodybuilding gym, what I operated. And immediately when I saw his potential, who was the first member? Of course, Franco Colombo. So when I saw the talent and the fire what burned in Arnold, I wrote to Joe, here is an athlete who will probably start an era called Schwarzenegger era. The first response was, this is not possible, and I don't believe what you are writing. But then he won the first universe title and the second one, and after the second one, it was clear that here are facts, and Joe invited Arnold to Miami in '68, and from that, the rest is history. But everything what happened, Arnold owes to Joe. There's no two ways about it. If Joe would not have brought Arnold to USA, we would not have a standing governor in California named Arnold Schwarzenegger. So Joe, you did it all for the athletes. You did it also for your employees. I remember a Christmas party in Woodland Hills, and this is again the humanitarian side of you. You cared for every single employee as he would be the most important employee, even if it was only cleaning people. You cared for everyone, and you have had for everyone a word, and you gave everyone the inspiration that this person is needed as anybody else in the company. No matter where he worked, what he did or she, you gave them this inspiration that every member of the team is important. So you are not only a role model as a businessman, you're a role model as a humanitarian, you're a role model as a man, as a husband, as the center of the family. You are the man. And I don't know if I should share this with you, but I have the courage to do. I was born in 1943, in October, 8 days after a big, heavy bomb attack in Munich. And I saw my father, who was an SS officer, when I was 8 years old, first time. He was God for me when I saw him. And over the years, it became clear that he was brainwashed as a young man or whatever happened. I couldn't go with him anymore. And at age 18, just short after I came into bodybuilding, I split completely with my father. And when I met you, Joe, I didn't first realize it. But it grew over the years, more and more. I wrote you once that you are spiritually my father. For Günther, you are father too, because you are the father of modern bodybuilding. But to me, you really replaced my father. And I don't know what would have happened to me if I would not have had you. So when I heard that you want me here, there was no doubt that I will come, no matter what. I love you. You are my mentor. You are my father. Thank you. And now I guess we have another course.
Okay, the main course is on its way. But we're here tonight to celebrate Snagglepuss's 88th birthday. And despite any evidence to the contrary for me to know that he's getting older, the only way I know he's getting older is I'm getting grayer. 88. In the mathematical world, 88 is a refactorable number, a primitive semi-perfect number, and an untouchable number, meaning that it's a positive integer that cannot be expressed as the sum of all proper divisors of any proper integer, which I have no idea what that means. But think about it. One of the terms is that a primitive semi-perfect thing. Does that not perfectly sum up almost every bodybuilder we've all met? And the fact that it's an untouchable number, 88, that amounts to Joe Weider. Are you going to help? And then I started poking around a little bit. I thought I could stand up here and tell you great things about Joe, but you all know those things or you wouldn't be here tonight. So I decided to look a little further into the number 88. There were some cute things my research turned up. For example, Morse code and amateur radio. The number 88 is often used by telegraph operators as an abbreviation for hugs and kisses. And I think that's really appropriate because when you're getting to your 88th birthday, seriously, a person is probably looking to have abbreviated hugs and kisses. And in bingo, the number 88 is known as two fat ladies. I got nothing to add to that. That's just funny. In researching the number 88, I also discovered some more profound facts. For example, in the Japanese language, the number 88 is often used to mean a great many or countless. And is it not true that the number 8 tipped on its side looks like the symbol for infinity? And in the world of publishing, bodybuilding, nutrition, health, and fitness, countless accomplishments were achieved by the wonderful man that we're here to honor tonight. My Aunt Frida says that for a great many years, her brother Joe has asked, "Why did I promise Pa all those years ago to make the Weider name famous?" Why, indeed. But he did make good on his promise to his father. With vision, passion, dedication to his life's work, 88 years worth, we know the name Weider is recognized all over the world. It was a dream grown from seeds planted by Joe, then tended to and cultivated by his brother Ben. And together, they created a legacy that will live on in infinity. And it is with a warm and grateful heart that Joe's family, his nieces, nephews, sister Frida, devoted wife Betty, and a great many friends raise our glasses and wish you, Snagglepuss, a birthday filled with countless best wishes, hugs, and kisses.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I want your attention. It's a very special occasion. To our friend Joe, I want you to sing Happy Birthday. You ready? Yeah. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe. Happy birthday to you. Joe, you've been living 88 years. You've been practicing at living. Now do some real living. Have some fun. You know, I'm a great believer that anything in life is possible. Do you believe that? Yes. I mean, this couple, Henry and Jenny. Little Jenny was 88 years old. Little Henry was 90. And they had both lost their respective spouses. And they started dating. Henry was very wealthy. So he had a guide, a chauffeur, went all over the world for a whole year. They had so much fun. Here, she's 88 and he's 90. At the end of the year, little Jenny became ill. This destroyed Henry. You know, they used to have so much fun. So he took her to Mayo Clinic, one of the greatest clinics in the world. And she was there for 5 days, little Jenny. At the end of the 5th day, they came and they gave her a cake. They said, Jenny, we have found out your problem. We know what your problem is. What's my problem? You are pregnant. That's impossible. I'm 88 and Henry is 90. We in Mayo Clinic here, we never make a mistake. You are pregnant. So she said, may I borrow your phone? She gets on the phone. Hello? Henry, you dirty old man, you got me pregnant. And there's silence on the phone for about 5 minutes. And finally he says, who is this? You know what I'm saying? Anything in life is possible. And if there's any one man that's proven that, it's my friend Joe Weider. It's the truth. I've known Joe in all these years. If there were more people in this world like Joe Weider, it'd be a better world. And I just want to thank Joe for his friendship and his kindness all these years. You know, when he had his magazines, he'd have me in there. And it's just terrific. Joe, may I say something from the bottom of my athletic heart? If there were more people like you, it would be a better world. God bless you, and I just hope you have so many years ahead of you. God bless you. We love you, Joe. Thank you.
It is my pleasure now to introduce the two-time Mr. Olympia, the one who owes everything to Joe and who admits it, and he will tell it in his own words to you, Franco Colombo, Dr. Franco Colombo.
Okay. You know what is amazing? No, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories that nobody knows. Nobody knows anything. Number one, I met Joe in 1961. And he doesn't even believe it. To give you an idea, I come from the mountains in Sardinia, 3,000 feet up in the mountains, 1,000 people. And I used to do boxing. And I was about 18. I went to the city, and as we are doing boxing, there are booklets in the gym because there were boxing and weightlifting there. And actually, the weightlifter won an Olympic medal for Italy. His name was Manironi, and he was training there. I pick up these booklets, and who is there? Joe Weider with this chest pose. This is in 1961. And I said, let me see that. And then you can see immediately get this feeling. This is America. I said, that's it. That's where you need to go. You know? I took the booklets to my town, and my father saw the booklets. He looked at it. He said, what is that? You know? And the way the booklets were portrayed, they were like only a few pages, by the way. It was some kind of unfolding catalog with 3 pages. And I made weights out of cement with a friend of mine, with Piero. You remember, I met Piero in Munich. He came to Munich later. So we make these weights, and this thing was so awkward. It was like this, you know? And I know, I was a bricklayer. I know how to make weights. I made them even, everything perfect. But one side was 10 pounds heavier. So, eventually then the papers came, and we migrated to Munich. And I'm with Piero looking around, and finally I say, there must be a gymnasium here. And I used to box at that time in Munich too. And then I'm walking in the train station, and from there it's like a center. You walk in Munich, the train station, and you can go this way, this way, this way. I walked over to Stacus into another area, and I see somebody carrying weights. I went up there in the 2nd floor, and I say, this is a gym. We have a gymnasium. And that's how I met Albert in 1963. And Albert says, we are not ready, you can train here. I says, okay, I can train in a corner with the weights that you have there. And he was literally throwing me out, you know? And that is how everything started in Munich. But that is amazing, if I think today, to have Joe's booklets in the most primitive town in Italy. I mean, that is incredible. And I really want to thank you, Joe, for, you see, when you spray that stuff around like that, people are not, this is not drugs. This is something that a kid looks for. This is the most incredible thing. And then, to go back to Munich, and we can go faster in time, I really want to say that Albert became really, really one of the best friends of mine, because he is, I don't know how to explain it, he's everywhere, the guy. Like, I remember little things that were totally incredible. I'm doing bench press. I want to become the strongest. I have no patience. I want to do it now. I want to be the strongest. And I say, Albert, this is 1964, I think. I say, Albert, I want to compete. He says, in what? I say, yeah, you organize powerlifting, you organize bodybuilding, in both. I say, I want to compete in both. He looks at me and says, in order to compete in powerlifting, you have to do 130 kilos bench press. And I saw you can only do 80. I say, okay. Then I said, what about bodybuilding? He says, you're bow-legged. You're no good. You will never win anything, And I trained for a couple months, and I say, okay, Albert, I'm going to show you 140 kilos in bench press. Can I compete? Yes. I did my 140 kilos, compete, go to Stuttgart. Now there's a year goes by, there is 1965. I want to make the long story short. We go to Stuttgart to compete. I win the overall powerlifting championship. And then some other guy, who, nobody knows who this guy is, which I already knew. Bodybuilding was the biggest in Munich and Berlin, and Albert knew everybody, and some guy is there and competes in Junior Mr. Europe and wins. So we don't know who it is, So now we go on stage, I get my trophy in powerlifting, first place, and then another guy gets first place in bodybuilding. I looked over and say, who are you? And he says, I am not from Germany. I said, okay. I'm from Austria. And that's how I met Arnold. In the Junior Mr. Europe P1 in my powerlifting on stage in Stuttgart. And Albert met him before, he met him before, and it was all, and he says, I'm coming back to Munich to train, because he lived in Austria. So that is how, really Since then, I'm trying to get Albert to come to Sardinia. I say, Albert, can you come to Sardinia one time? I have a place there, got my sisters, they cook all day. We got a house there. He looked at me like I was an idiot, you know? And finally, a couple years ago, he came down there, and now he says, I have to come there at least 2 times a year. He showed up 3 times while I'm not even there, you know? But, you know, we don't have enough time. I could tell you 1,000 stories. Like, I really, really miss Ben, because Ben, he was so an incredible man, and Ben was like a little bit the opposite of Joe. If I would say to Joe, Joe, can you do this for me? He totally went crazy. Right away, I do it now. Never heard from him again. You know? Then I will turn around to Ben and say, Ben, I need to do this and this and this. Ben opened up his jacket, he wrote it down. When I got back from New York or from Europe, it was ready in the office, all the time. And one of the most incredible stories is that I won the first time Mr. Universe in 1970 in Belgrade, then in 71 in Paris, and no one knows about the story. So I win Mr. Universe overall, and some guy comes to me, it was one of the head judges from Turkey, and says, I want your trophy back, and you're disqualified. And I said to Sergeant Nubre, I said, what does this mean? He says, you know, I run the show here, but, you know. I walked over to Ben and said, Ben, I trained all year to win this title. I won. It's done. It's over. You know, and look what they're doing. And Ben, you know, he tried his best, you know, leave it alone. And I said, what's the reason? He says, oh, because you wrote booklets. Now, to go back a few months before, I told Joe, I said, Joe, we don't make enough money. He says, okay, you don't make enough money. I'm going to write booklets for you. You sell the booklets and make money. So I make booklets, make money, I get disqualified. And that is the first time where I knew Ben was so nice. He cried. I made him cry that day. I wouldn't stop. You know, but, you know, it's nothing you could do. The rule was the rule in the IFPB, you know. And I wanted to know, Eric, all your family, that you are the leader in Ben Weider's circle. He did so much stuff for everything, for the international bodybuilding. The IFBB went international and became so connected where many countries didn't believe in bodybuilding. And they became #1. That goes from Russia to Singapore and China. You know, and so it's incredible. Now, Joe, you know, how can you not love Joe? You know, but I have to tell you a couple crazy stories about him, otherwise, you know, you don't understand. I met Joe, first I came to America, to Los Angeles, straight to Santa Monica, and said, Arnold, when are we going to meet Joe? And I got the smallpox vaccination in Munich, and I lost all the weight, I became like a skeleton. He says, if you don't gain 20 pounds, you never meet Joe. So I'm training, and Arnold will come in 3 in the morning and says, here's a protein drink. It was so untasteful. Like if the 5 raw eggs, you know, protein powder and banana, it was the worst thing I ever ate. So finally we meet Joe. So I met him once, we got to New York, to New Jersey, at this company in New Jersey. I said, Joe, look, he looks like a real nice guy, and we are going over these things, you know. And then he has a black Cadillac. I said, wow, it's like the car. And now we are living in the Hudson Hotel. What do you call Hudson? We are staying there. And we go to the first workout. Joe is going to work out with Arnold and Franco and Rick Wayne. So we go there, we sit down on the benches. And I'm doing my 45-pound curls, you know, I can do 60, you know, I'm strong. And I looked over there and I see Joe doing 65, and Rick Wayne 25, and Arnold 45. And I say, Arnold, Why is he doing 65? He says, don't pay attention to him. I said, okay. Then we stopped training curls, and he would run and do sit-ups like this. And I said, okay, is he doing it on purpose? Or is this how he trains the guy, you know? He says, you don't know him, you know, let's relax, you know? And I was so impressed by this, you know what? I better get stronger. And that's how I met Joe. Then we went to his company in New Jersey. And all fine and dandy, seeing his company, you know, beautiful. We go back, and we are entering the Lincoln Tunnel. This shows how Joe is. And it's the Lincoln Tunnel. It's totally traffic. He can't get in the tunnel. We are in front. He gets out of the car and leaves. And I'm just a passenger guy. I'm only in America a few months. He leaves. He goes across street, and a 10-lane, you know, Lincoln is very wide. He goes across street into a phone booth, and he gets on the phone, facing the other direction. And I'm sitting like this, you know, in the Cadillac, dark. A police officer comes by from here, and he says, get out. Move. And I go like this, yeah. He says, get out. You know, I felt like they're going to take the gun out. And I'm looking, I say, over there, like this. You know, he says, no, you get out. It was incredible. And Joe comes back, says, what they want, don't worry about them, you know. And that was so interesting. It was not a minute that was not fun. I don't think so. You know? We go home, we go to this hotel, we are staying we go to Joe's apartment. And Arnold weighs like 300, you know, it's like 245. And Joe, the first thing he said was, "Is a chair here, don't touch it. Please do not touch that chair." And Arnold says, yeah. He sits down and crumbles in 1,000 pieces. And he goes like, ah, this is the chair that a Napoleon chair or something that's supposed to give Ben. And Arnold was so incredible. He turns around and says, Joe, you have a lot of money. Why are you so worried? Oh, you're right. You know? But I can tell you thousands of stories like that. He was so incredible that we had so much fun. And he has this way of pushing things. Like one time we were in Columbus, Ohio. I don't have to tell you the details. I'm sitting down on benches, and I'm giving him a hard time to Lou Ferrigno. I say, Lou didn't do this, Lou didn't do that. And he says, Franco, why you give a hard time to Lou? And I said, what do you mean? He says, he's sensitive, he's a nice guy, why are you so bad? You know, he's always like defending the opposite. No matter what I did, he will defend the other guy, you know? But anyway, Joe, you know, incredible stories. You pushed me so much, especially in Venice Beach, when Arnold says, we're going to get a raise. Franco, you're going to lift 650-pound deadlift. You're going to get a raise. I'm going to get a raise. And we bring Joe there, Sunday afternoon. I was so pumped up. I go there, put the 650 pounds up like nothing. Joe comes out to him and says, he can do 700. This is no good. This is nothing. Like, I say, why I'm doing this, you know? And I mean, I tell you, Joe, you have so a good heart. You defend everybody. And we're going to do many more birthdays and have a lot of fun. So thank you very much. Thank you, Albert. I want to say one more thing, though, which is very important I forgot, and that is Bob Gardner. Bob Gardner is the official photographer. He comes from New York. Joe brings him out to Los Angeles. And I gave him so many nightmares when he used to take pictures, because I wanted Arnold and I used to compete in how we pose together, and we used to switch his lights and make them all different. And here's Bob Gardner sitting right there. Even with all the trouble. Thank you.
So we have dessert now. And just one little anecdote also. When I visited in the late 70s the Weider home, I saw a car with a plate, to-do boy. And of course, I'm always interested to get behind the scenes, and I thought there's some meaning behind it. And I asked Betty, what is it about this plate? And she said, when she asked Joe over the years, she wants something, whatever it was, Joe's reply was always, I don't have time to do it. Too much to do. So she made a plate, and the plate says, to the boy to remind him that he has something to do. So this is just the first part of the story, because Joe said no, too much to do. Ben told me once, if Joe would be a woman, he would be pregnant every year because he cannot say no. Good appetite.
And on that note, can I have everyone raise their glass to say happy birthday to Joe?
I got the wrong information from Andy, so it's Andy's fault. Of course, I have to introduce you. I mean, Lou, you are such a legend in our sport. You have to be introduced. I mean, the world knows Lou as the Hulk. I know Lou since '72 at the NABA Universe. This is a rival organization of the IFBB, but at that time, we were very tolerant, and he competed in the NABA Universe, and I was there as a photographer, and I photographed young Lou, very impressive, big, a monster on stage, made everybody look tiny. I don't know what place you took, I guess 8th or something. You will tell afterwards. You didn't place in the top. Second place in the tournament? And I was wrong. Okay. Anyway, he was the biggest guy on stage. And then he made history in the battles with Arnold. Several battles in '74, in '75. And it was also the content of the famous movie Pumping Iron. Without you, Pumping Iron wouldn't be what it is. A world success. And it would not, Arnold would not have shined as he did without you, because you was his competitor, his tough competitor. And you always showed it. And I remember very well the warming up scenes in '74 and '75. And this was bodybuilding at its best if it comes to competition. You and Arnold, that's history forever in bodybuilding. So I would like to introduce to you the one and only, the famous, the Hulk, Lou Ferrigno.
I promise my speech won't be long without Buzek tonight. And not as funny as Franco. Anyway, it's great to be here tonight because I feel like I'm home. There's so much been said about Joe. Everybody came up with every story. My favorite thing is to say that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Joe Weider. Arnold wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Joe Weider. He'll still be home in Austria posing for his mother. Franco wouldn't be here because Franco would still be with his father in Sardinia making pasta. And Maria Shriver, his wife, would probably be married to Mitt Romney today. And Gunter, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, I want to tell you a little story. Back in 1972, they used to have a competition in Madison Square Garden. They used to have the Mr. Olympia, Mr. Universe competition. I was very fired up to go to the competition because that night they would have the Mr. Universe competition. So my father took me there because I was very excited to meet all the legends of bodybuilding. And I remember I was backstage, and I see a guy walking up to me, got a mustache. It was Joe Weider. I was dumbfounded. I was shocked because, you know, reading magazines since I was a kid, seeing the pose, you know, that Joe does and everything. I mean, all this came to light because as a kid growing up, I was extremely introverted, very shy. My whole life was reading Muscle Fitness, Muscle Power because I used to idolize guys like Larry Scott, Drape, and Arnold. You know, I lived in Brooklyn. I trained at a small gym. Even like my friend Jack Elaine, I used to watch him on TV. All of this comes into play. Joe, you have no idea how much you affected people. So going back to 1972, you approached me. The first thing I remember you said to me, you said, Lou, you could be a Weider superstar. We have Frank Dane, Franco Colombo, Arnold. You could be the fourth Weider superstar. I was so touched by it because it gave me so much incentive, so much inspiration because I had a chance to come to California. I wanted to come to California just for any reason, just to train with the greatest bodybuilder, be a bodybuilding champion. So shortly after that, I moved to California, had the chance to compete in the Olympia. Like 1974, 75, I moved to California in 1976. But because of Joe, I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful, the most beautiful wife anybody can have. My wife, Carla, here. And a better looking son than me, Lou Ferrigno. But most of all, I just want to say, Joe, you have no idea how many people you have affected. And I'm very honored tonight to be in this room, to be with everyone. And I must say you have my deep condolences to Ben Weider because 3 years ago you had a birthday party and Ben was here because I'll never forget the time I won the Mr. Universe competition in Geneva, Switzerland. I'm sure you were there, Al. And Ben raised my hand. And Ben said, someday you could be the greatest. Unfortunately, my career was interrupted during the whole TV series, but that started my whole life. Because if I didn't have all that, if I didn't have you, I don't know what I would be today. And I can't express my gratitude and thanks. And I know I'm 57 years old now. And I know that I have to keep busting my ass to look good as you at 88 years old, Joe. And Joe, today, what you've done for me, I still have the same fierce passion of bodybuilding like back in the 60s and 70s, and I will continue bodybuilding today. They put me 6 feet under. I love you, Joe. Happy birthday.
And thank you, Lou. And now, the better half of Lou. I met Carla when Lou shot the movie, did the movie Hercules in Rome. And I have wonderful photos of you too. And you look absolutely the same. I don't know how you do it, but it's a fact. It's a fact. So please come up and say a few words. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, you know what? I guess everybody here probably knows my name by now. Those of you who don't, I'm Carla Ferrigno. And I just want to say that I feel like my life has been so affected by Joe. And I'll tell you how. When I met Lou, which was 1979, I met Joe shortly afterwards. And the first time I met Joe, I liked him tremendously. I really liked him. The reason I liked him was because I saw how he cared about Lou, what Lou meant to him, and his kindness towards him. And I remember that I liked him a lot, but it wasn't, but shortly after that, that I started to love Joe. And the reason why was because it was about it was 30 years ago. It was a long time. And I remember we were just getting ready to do my first cover of Muscle and Fitness. And the night before that, Lou and I had our first major fight. And what a fight it was. So the next day, we have to have a lunch with Joe. And I said, I'm not going to that lunch. I'm done. I'm done. And so I thought, oh, okay, well, at least I have to go say goodbye to Joe. So we go to this luncheon, and we get there, and I say to Joe, Joe, I am leaving him. He'd already asked me to marry him, and Joe knew this, and I said, I'm leaving, it's over, I'm done. Well, Joe sat with me, and he reprimanded Lou. He very, very sweetly and wisely spoke to me about what a good man this was and how I was making a mistake and that I could not leave. And that if I would just stay a little longer, it would all work out. And guess what? 30 years later, it has all worked out. And I think that in that night, I was so affected because I realized that if I hadn't been honest and said the things that I said to Joe that night, that day, that afternoon at lunch, I wouldn't have gotten all of his wisdom and I wouldn't have listened because I was really good at running away. And I wouldn't today have this wonderful life that I've lived for 30 years. I wouldn't have this man that I consider, when anyone asks me about him, my words about Lou Ferrigno are that he is a prince among men. That's what I call him. And I wouldn't have my wonderful, blessed, oh God, I'm so blessed to have my children. And I'm so glad he's here with us tonight because I'm always proud to have him around. And I'm just so pleased that I could spend your 88th birthday with you, Joe. And Betty and Joe, have, for me and for Lou, have always been the wonderful, wise, good parents that neither Lou and I ever had. And so I am so happy to have you all still in my life. Happy birthday. We love you.
Albert and I, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Albert. Albert was on a plane yesterday from Germany. Albert will be on a plane tomorrow to Germany. So if he's he's a tired man. He's like a member of the family, as are all of you, and we want to thank you for being here this evening.
I thank you too, and it was a privilege to be here today. And Joe, I wish you for the second half of your life all the best. God bless you. God bless America.
Thank you for coming, everybody. Happy birthday, Pop Pop.